Okay, next, I want to talk about standardization of objective tests. Standardization. I know that's hard for you to pronounce. You read after me again. Standardize. Standard. Standardize. Standardization. Standardization is an important step in designing and evaluating psychological tests and other assessment instruments. And before a test can be used with some assurance of the psychological construct it intends to measure, information concerning the reliability and the validity of the test must be obtained. Reliability and validity. Now, what is reliability? You know, it comes from reliable. Reliability refers to the relative freedom of test scores from the errors of measurement. In classical test score theory, reliability is defined as the ratio of a test true score variance to its observed score variance. This could sound boring to you, I know. It's boring for me to read them, but once you know about them, you will know how important it is for having what is called objective, or to some extent, scientific test. So, more simply put, reliability is the degree to which a test is able to yield reproducible and consistent results. It is typically done by correlating two sets of test scores, and correlation means the degree to which two sets of scores are related in a linear fashion, and is indexed by a coefficient ranging from 0 to 1. In 0, there's no relationship. It's 1 is total relationship. If 0.5, that's pretty good, consistent relationship. If it's 0.7, 0.8, that's already pretty strong. If it is 0.1 or 2, that's mild. There could be a positive correlation, but it depends. Okay. Now, let's look at two cases of high reliability and low reliability. The high reliability, for instance, the same person do the same test 2 times, separate times, and the first time you got 65, the first time you got a 60, and second time you got 65. The second person, first time got 75, second time 76. The third person, first time got 85, second time 87. And the fourth person, first time got 92, and second time 93. So the scores are pretty consistent within the same person for 2 separate times they do the same test. So it's reliable within its own test time. Now, what about a case of low reliability? Okay, there's one person. The first time he got 60 marks. The second time he got 87 marks. Okay, for the other person, the second person, the first time he got 75 marks. The second time he got 65 marks. For the third person, the first time he got 84 marks. The second time he got 93 marks. And the fourth person, the first time he got 92 marks. The second time he got 76 marks. There's a huge variations between the results of the two tests done. So there's low reliability. Now, if you do not know reliability, you can think of like father-son. Okay, the look should be reliably the same if the son does not look like father. That this could arouse all kinds of suspicions. So that's a correlation, reliability. You can say this is reliable, my son. It's the same thing. Reliability can be assessed in different ways. For instance, the test-retest method. That means administering the test to the same group of people at 2 different times. Okay, just like the example I gave you a while ago. And alternate forms method, that means two forms of the test administered to the same group of people at two different times. And a value of around 0.7 to 0.9 is considered as acceptable. So this is about reliability. Now think about what is the test-retest method. It is known as the coefficient of stability and takes into account the errors of measurement resulting from differences in conditions associated with their scores on a second administration. To give you an example, look at this test. It's called LOT, Life Orientation Test Scale. It was developed by Shear and Carver in 1985. And there was a 5-point Likert scale used. And there was the 5-point Likert scale. 1 means strongly agree, 2 means agree, 3 means neutral, 4 means agree, and 5 means strongly agree. So the lowest score is 8, and highest score is 40. And the test-retest reliability score is 0.79, which is 4 weeks later. Whereas quantified alpha is about 0.876. Quantified alpha is about the same as the reliability score. And this was done by my colleague at City of Hong Kong, Dr. Julian Lai, and myself in the year 2000, 22 years ago. And we have this test-retest reliability score reported. Now, let's look at the other important concept, which is parallel forms. The parallel forms use test forms consisting of similar but not the same items. So it considers errors due to different administration items as well as errors due to different samples of test items. And the smaller the error is, the better the score is. So the parallel forms are also called the alternate forms of the test. And just to give you an example, for instance, we have a bunch of items you want to have, like Form A and Form B. Just think about the college entrance examination, 高考. Okay. For college entrance examination, there has to be two forms, Form A and Form B, and they should be highly similar. In case anything happens, the Form B have to be used. Let's look at the possible ways to select items from a test. Let's look at 6 items. Okay, so you can have 1, 2, 3 for the first half and 5, 4, 6 for the second half. And you run the correlation estimate, it's about 164. And then if you have a 1, 2, 4 for the first half, 3, 5, 6 for the second half, and you get a reliability estimate of 0.68. And then you have 1, 2, 5 in the first half and 3, 4, 6 in second half, and you get 0.82, the reliability estimate. So the same test will have a Form A and Form B, and you would have 1, 2, 5 in the first half and 3, 4, 6 for the second half. And this is how it was determined. Now, having said all of this, you may get bored and you do not know what it's all about. Let's just do a quick exercise and you will understand a lot better. Here, you see a test, a real psychological test or personality test. It's called the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Test. And it has 10 items on the left, and on the right is the rating response. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 stands for uncharacteristic me, and 4 stands for characteristic me, and then 2 and 3 is like somewhere in between. And of these 10 sentences, you look at them, and then you give yourself a score. Okay? Please do that right now. Please pause here and do it. Okay, you've done it. Okay? And now I want you look at how to do the scoring, because you ticked or you have some scores And then you want to see how I would be able to get a score out of this. Well, first of all, let's know what is the Rosenberg self-esteem scale. The scale was developed by American psychologist and Rosenberg. It is the most commonly used scale to measure personal worth in the world. It has 10 items to measure the degree of personal feelings or worth. And the scale is easy to understand, easy to administer, and it has high reliability and validity scores. Then what about scoring? The respondent answers the questions on a 4-point rating scale. And among these 10 items, the scores of items 3, 5, 8, 9, 10 are reversed for coding. So if you look at a test, if you score a 4, 9 becomes 1. If you score a 1, it counts as a 4. 2 or 3, 3 or 2, and you know how to do this accordingly. And now, please add up your scores. Now, from the past history, it shows that the norm is ranked through repeated administrations, at least for my students. In Hong Kong, shows that if a student or person's score is lower than 20 points, then his or her self-esteem is low. If his or her score is higher than 30, and his or her self-esteem is high. Besides, males generally score higher than females, and American and European students generally score higher than Southeast Asian students. Now you've done this. I want you to tell me your score. Is it lower than 20 or higher than 30? And what is your score? Okay? And this is what a personality test means for you to understand about yourself, to what extent you value yourself. And this is a standardized test, and it's an objective test, and the results, your result could be compared to some norms obtained from previous studies. And as such, scale can be applied to people of any age. Because of the simplicity and convenient scoring, it is especially suitable for young people. Now, I want to show you this picture, and you can have a look, and you can see the reliability score. Because many years ago, when I was teaching in Hong Kong, I get 300 students to do the self-esteem scale, Rosenberg self-esteem scale, and the first time they did it, their mean score was 30.5. And I did it this again 2 months later. And this time the mean score is 34.6. And when you look at the two mean scores and test the reliability score, and you test the reliability score, the quantum alpha, it gives you a score of 0.93. So it's a very high score for the reliability. Now, you see, this is what we psychologists, particularly we psychometricians, when develop scales, we do this a lot to prove this something that is worth of your trust. It's reliable, after all.